So today we're going to be checking out the brand new Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Toilette Intense. Now this is of course the newest addition in the line. They have quite a few really good flankers, and personally my favorite from the line is a flanker, and that would be the Eau de Parfum. I think that's a great fragrance. It's got iris, it's got this chocolatey type of smell, and it's really good for fall and winter time, and it's a nice, more wearable alternative to Dior Homme Intense. Takes that iris, but it almost freshens up the iris, and it just gives it a bit more of a mass appeal, makes it a bit more accessible, not only in terms of price, but just in terms of wearability as well, and also likability and mass appeal. Gentleman Cologne is a really good summertime fragrance. It still uses iris, but it has some herbal notes, it's got some citrus, and it's a really nice one for the warm weather, and it is quite a bit unique. Now, Gentleman Boisé, which was the newest flanker up until this one, I found to be nice, but a bit more boring, a bit more uninspired. I really do like Boisé, but comparing it to the EDP, comparing it even to the Cologne, there is something about it that is missing a kind of magical sparkle about it. So I'm excited to try the Eau de Toilette Intense. I'm going to spray it live on camera, give you my first impressions, tell you how it smells, what it compares to, and if I think it's worth picking up right off the bat. The bottle also does look really nice. Out here in this lighting, it may not come across really quite how it does in pictures, but it does look great. My only thing is on the back, and this may be hard to see, so I'm going to move in abnormally close to the camera. The sticker here wraps around the bottle, so that's your Givenchy Gentleman. That is a sticker. It comes around to the back. Here's the Givenchy logo, and that's kind of where the sticker connects, but it's off-center. I don't know if that shows up really well on camera, but it is in fact not centered. Now this doesn't matter. No one really cares probably, but it's something that I noticed immediately when I looked at the back of the bottle. And I don't know. I don't really like that. I don't like the off-center type of thing. It just kind of triggers me a little bit. But we'll go ahead and give this one a spray on my hand for the first time, and we're going to see how this one smells. I'm excited. I like the Gentleman line, and I'm curious to see where this one is going to stack up. So for me, initially, you get that iris. You get a bit of a spicy kick. You get a kind of soft, smooth, creamy, almost like what would smell like a cacao in Gentleman Eau de Parfum, that chocolatey type of smell. Almost comes through here, but it's a bit more buried in the base. It's a nice, fresh, bright iris. There's some citrus here as well. It's kind of uplifting, vibrant. It smells fresh. You know, you can tell immediately when you first spray this one that this is not going to be like your wintertime, fall Gentleman Eau de Parfum. This one smells like it could be worn in the springtime and maybe early summer if you don't push it too far. I'm going to go ahead and read off the official note breakdown for you. Up top we have basil, cardamom, bergamot. In the mid we have cypress, iris. In the base we have coumarin or tonka bean and cedar. So the cardamom is that spiciness that I was getting, and that does make sense because immediately when you first spray it on you get that spicy kick. And I kind of thought it was a black pepper, but it does make sense that it would be cardamom, giving it a little bit of an oriental kick. The basil comes through, and the basil, I think, is what's going to throw people off a little bit, along with, of course, the iris. If you're not a fan of iris in fragrances, if you're not a fan of, you know, the last few Gentlemans, and you're not a fan of Dior Homme Intense, the iris may throw you for a loop, but also along with that, the basil. Basil, depending on how it's used, can give off this almost older smell, almost like a grandma type of smell, depending on how it's used again. And in here, it doesn't really give that off. You know, it's a kind of fresh green, springtime smelling type of basil. It gives the scent overall an herbal feel, and you can also pick up on maybe a little bit of a spiciness from the basil also. That bergamot does come through up top. Like I said, I knew I was getting some sort of citrus there, but it's not the forefront, and it's not like a bergamot-centric fragrance. You know, you just get a little bit of a fresh pop, but it's not taking the star of the show. Really, the bergamot helps to balance out some of the other notes going on, and some of the other notes are a bit sweeter. There's something in here that reminds me of something else, and it's something that I don't like. Now, it's not like I don't like the fragrance, but there's a certain accord, a certain aroma chemical something going on in here that reminds me of something else that I can't put my finger on right now that I'm not the biggest fan of. It's almost like there's a strong cashmerean note in here that I'm picking up on, and I'm not the biggest fan of cashmerean. For example, Dior Homme 2020, Dolce & Gabbana, the one, what is it, Eau de Parfum Intense or something along those lines. I think it's what it's called. I can't remember at this point. But those two use cashmerean heavily, and it's almost like I'm getting a heavy cashmerean in here, giving it a kind of a, I don't know, a slight, sweet, different aromatic touch. I don't know, there's something going on, and that's something I'll have to think about. The cypress in this one gives it a bit of an aromatic feel, and this is where it starts to get a bit interesting, especially as it's been settling on my skin, is you get the cypress. That gives it a traditional masculine smell. You get the basil, giving it a little bit of an herbal, semi-spicy twist. You get the iris. That gives it a bit of a floral, soapy, and clean smell. And as it sits here, right now, I'm liking it better than in the opening. In the opening, I did like it, but I found that it was kind of a lot all at once, especially for the first time that I smelled this one. And I find that as it's settling down, it's starting to be a bit more tame. I'm starting to be able to pick up on these notes easier. And I like the way the cypress blends with the basil. I also like how some of the woods are starting to come in. Just the cedar wood that's in the base is starting to come in and give it a nice base. There's also coumarin or tonka bean listed in the base. And I think that's there, kind of buried behind everything else. So that's even behind the cedar wood for me. Really, if I were to kind of tell you the layers of how this one smells for me right now, in terms of the prominent notes, I'm getting kind of a mixture of the basil and iris right up top. Right when I smell this one, as of right now, basil and iris. A little bit of that cypress comes in, giving it that traditional aromatic woodiness. Some of that cedar wood comes in, and then finally in the base, that tonka bean is just giving an ever so slight powdery touch. I don't even really want to say a sweet touch, because there's really not a whole lot of sweetness about this one, but a little bit of a powderiness for sure. Now, it's worth noting that this does not smell like Gentleman Eau de Parfum. It doesn't smell like Boisé. It doesn't smell like cologne, obviously. This really goes in its own direction here. Maybe it ties back to the original Gentleman a little bit, and that would make sense because it is an Eau de Toilette Intense. But even still, I think this one provides a nice twist on the original as well, and a nice twist on the rest of the line, which makes this one, a unique and different pickup, and it's not a redundant flanker within the line, which is always a positive. Of course, because this one has iris in here, it's going to be getting compared to Prada L'Homme and Dior Homme and all of those other popular iris fragrances, and I really don't think it smells like any of them. I think, if anything, maybe a little bit of a similarity to the original Gentleman, but that's about it. And again, this one goes kind of off on its own even there as well. So I think this one does kind of stand in its own little category here, bringing in some aromatic notes, bringing in some herbal notes, even bringing in a little bit of a creamy, slightly powdery tonka bean. That kind of sets this one off in a different crowd. So as this one sits for me right now, it's a strong like, but not quite a love yet. I'm going to need to spend some more time with this one. I'm going to need to test it more. I want to apply some heat to this one, see how it does, maybe on a warmer spring day. Just as we're out here right now, we just had a rain come through and it's cooled off outside. It feels like spring, but it's not really necessarily warm, and obviously the sun is not out. I would like to get some heat on this one, see how it does. So overall, my current thoughts right now, I like it. I don't love it yet. I want to try it more. As it sits, I like the Eau de Parfum better. I probably still like Boisé better, and I like Cologne better. But I do think that this one does have some potential as I kind of progress and wear this one more here in spring and summer. If you guys have tried this one, let me know what you think down below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you love it? And if you haven't tried it yet, let me know if you want to. Are you a fan of this line? Are you a fan of iris and fragrances? Are you tired of iris and fragrances as of right now? Let me know down below. And I also want to remind you that this one is available at Macy's now, so you can get this one in the US. I will link it down below, and that is where I got mine as well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.